Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Is This Thing On? I don't know how the sound quality on this sounds, but we're just gonna have to deal with it for right now because my laptop that I record my episodes on that has the little USB port for my USB mic is no longer with us. That laptop has run its course, has died. It has the apple has fallen far from the tree, and it is no longer bearing fruit. I tried to make a little apple pun there because I have a Mac and the logo's Apple, and it didn't work out. Anyways, guys, how y'all doing? I have missed you guys so much. It's been several months. I'm not even going to try to figure out how many months it's been since I've recorded a podcast episode. And frankly, I have been trying to figure out how I was going to come back to this podcast because as much as I wanted to give up on it, and I did have many moments where I was like, you know what, I need to just give up on this thing because it's clearly not working. But now I feel invigorated, and I feel like I can continue on with this podcast. And, I have a lot to say. And so I'm somewhat interesting. My audience size may not say otherwise, but I think I'm pretty entertaining. By the way, that sound is my iced coffee, which I got way too sweet this time. But anyways, guys, I have missed you tremendously. How y'all doing? Should I give a life update? Okay, we'll give a life update just because I feel like y'all are my besties. And it's been a hot minute. It's been a while. It's been several months to be exact. And like I said, I was trying to figure out creative ways to come back to this podcast episode, but I am a very spontaneous person, and spontaneity is my thing, so we're just going to roll with the punches, alright? But we'll go with the life update first. So life update. I don't know how familiar you guys are with my work situation, but I have mentioned it in a few episodes, and I mentioned it in an episode before, but sorry, that was my sister's computer charging. Don't mind that. Anyways, regarding my work situation, I was a TA at a private Christian school, and we just finished the school year about 3 weeks ago, and you know what? I love that job. I learned so much about education, about children, about the fact that I'm really passionate about education and I really want to make a difference, and henceforth why I'm happy to announce, and maybe I have already mentioned this, but in the event that I haven't, I'm also getting my teacher certification. Yay! I'm currently in the process of doing that, and I'm trying to get it all done and situated by September is my goal. Because I keep getting distracted. I just started it last week, and it is quite a long process. I'm going to get certified to teach 4th through 8th grade for social studies. Don't ask me what the criterion for each subject and each grade level is, because it varies per state, and it also varies on how you go about getting your teacher certification. Because a little background on me, I did not go to school for education. I actually went to school for psychology. So I have a BS in psychology, bachelor's of science in psychology, and a minor in sociology. We've talked endlessly about my credentials, so we don't need to go into that. But anyways, I did not go through the traditional educational route. And in the traditional educational route, after you've done all your educational course, pretty much the last year of your teaching bachelor's is dedicated to student teaching and getting certified and passing your your PPR and your tests so you can be an official teacher. Because of the fact that I did not go through that and doing the alternative certification route, which is slightly different but just as demanding, and I was able to find a company that works really well with me, and they did a course evaluation and they basically laid out for me what I can teach and what I can't. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to be realistic. What is the easiest route to do this? And they were like, you're certified to teach social studies. And I'm like, perfect. Social studies was one of my favorite subjects growing up in school. I'm more of a right brain than a left brain, although there's got to be an in-between there, but I really always liked humanities more than science and math, even though psychology, honestly, I consider it a hard science because there's so much research that goes into it. And, I'm going to get naysayers on here that are like, psychology's not a science, it's not a part of STEM, blah, 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 blah. There is so much neurological research and psychological research going on every single day, and the APA is proof of that. I had the grand opportunity of doing research after I graduated with an amazing professor that had years of experience. Shout out to Dr. Ernst. If you are listening to this, you are one of my biggest inspirations. I admire you so much, and thank you for taking me under your wings when I was a naive little 19-year-old, 18, 19-year-old. Anyways, research was so much fun. I had a blast doing it. I highly recommend whatever field you're in college, if you have the opportunity to do research, do it. It'll look amazing on your transcripts. It'll look amazing on your resume. It will just look stellar. So I highly recommend it. And it's also a lot of fun. I mean, I found the research side a lot of fun. Me personally, I love being in a research lab, but potato. Everybody has their the creme de la creme, and for me, I really liked research. Anyhow, so life update, going back to me being a TA, I really, really fell in love with education, and I decided in the past year that past 8 months that I have been a teaching assistant, that I wanted to get my certification because it would open up more opportunities and etc. And along the lines of more opportunities, God has so graciously given me a really, 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 really big opportunity, which is that I'm going to be a co-teacher for IDEA Public Schools for their RISE special ed department, which I am very thrilled about. I just found out the news this past Tuesday. I got the call that I got the job, and I'm ecstatic. I'm incredibly grateful. I have been praying about this for a long time, and I've worked my tushy off to get a position with this company. Let me tell you, it has not been easy. I've gotten rejected by them 7, 8, 9 times, but you know what they say, when you fall 8, 7, 9 times, you get back up. And the Lord has been so good and so gracious to me. And I'm just very, very excited to start this new chapter in my life where I'm venturing out into education. Does this mean that I am not going to be pursuing psychology? The answer to that is no. For right now, I really, really want to focus on teaching, want to focus on getting my certification, want to focus on taking a deep dive into this new opportunity that the Lord has bestowed upon me, and take on this new challenge of being a co-teacher at this prestigious school. And I want to teach for a little bit, for a few years, and I think maybe a year and a half into teaching, I will reapply for a master's program in clinical psychology. and go back and get my master's, because that is the ultimate goal. I want to still get my master's degree in clinical psychology. And, hopefully, God willing, if I still have the vigor and the energy and the zeal for it, I would love to go back and get my PhD. But I cannot predict the future. As much as I want to make a 5-year plan, which I kind of have in my head, not everything works out the way it should sometimes, and for good reason. But yeah, I am very, very excited. I have a knack for kids. I'm really good at being around children, and I love being around kids, and I've learned a lot about myself in the process of working with kids. And I just really, really like people. I really like people. I'm a people person. I'm a kids person. I'm a huge kids person. I love kids, and kids have taught me so much about resilience, about patience, about love, about finding joy in life. And so I'm really, really grateful that God has given me a talent for working with kids, because I feel like not everybody can do that. And so, yeah, I'm very, very excited for this new opportunity. Before that, I actually had a little summer job for about 2 weeks. 2 weeks, wow, what a record. But it was for this solar energy company. Wow. And honestly, when I applied, I did not think I was going to get selected. I thought it was a scam. So when I applied, I got a call an hour later saying that they wanted to see me for an interview. So I went in the following week for an interview, and lo and behold, I went in for another final interview, and I got hired. And so I worked for the company for about 2 weeks, but I quit about a week and a half ago because my heart wasn't in it, and they saw that in me, and they were very gracious about it, and they let me go, and I quit, and they let me go. And so, but it was a mutual decision, and I have nothing bad to say about the company. I think it was in sales mostly, so I think if you have the heart for sales, totally do it. If not, then, venture out into something else. And that's what I did. I took a plunge and I ventured out into this, and it's not everybody's cup of tea. I think I could do sales, but I just didn't like the way in which this sales job was sort of presented. It just wasn't for me. And what isn't for you, you ultimately won't stick with it. So that's one thing that I've learned a lot, among many other things that I have, which I'll kind of open up to about in this episode. I'm trying to think what other life updates I need to update people on. All I'm going to say, guys, and maybe this is part of the life update, maybe it's not, but I just want to say thank you to the few that have stuck around, that have been listening, that care about me, care about this podcast. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm sorry I've been inconsistent with my episodes, but lack of inspiration and time management is not an excuse for me to be lazy on this platform, but sadly, that's what it has succumbed to. So I will do better. I will try to be more consistent, and I will try to think of more exciting things to talk about rather than just the monotony of my lack of dating life. But yeah, I guess I could say why I've been gone. Yeah, I'll say a little bit of why I've been gone. So work obviously had a lot to do with it. I would get home from work. I would go and work out at the gym. After I would get home from the gym, I was just exhausted every single day. As much as I love working with kids and any full-time job, really will keep you on your toes and keep you pretty exhausted at the end of the day. And that's just what happened to me. Like, I was, like, exhausted a lot. And, that's not a reason to, like, quit this. But part of me, like I keep saying, couldn't find the inspiration in doing a podcast, Sorry, coffee break. So I needed the inspiration, I needed the motivation, I needed the ideas. And I didn't stick to it. I didn't stick to my guns. I didn't stick to the routine that I had developed. And, I had promised that I was going to be a good host. And I didn't live up to that. So for that, I'm incredibly sorry. But the other reason, apart from work kicking me right in the tushy and other life stuff, the other reason I haven't really kept up with this podcast is because, and I've mentioned it before, but as you guys know, I am working on an album. If you didn't know, I'll say it again. I'm working on an album. And music has been one of those things that I've been pouring my heart and soul into for the past year. And all I can say is that I really, really see a bright future in music for me too. And I really, really have dug deep into the depths of my heart and written some great songs that I am excited to put out. Oh, that's the big announcement. There's going to be, I can't say much. I want to keep it under wraps as much as possible. But I am going to be releasing a single, pretty soon. To be determined. I don't know when. I would like to put it out during the summer or by the end of summer or sometime this year. I would at least like to put out 2 singles on Spotify and all streaming platforms. I have not figured out how to do that yet, but once I do, those singles will be out into the world. I'm very excited for everybody to hear it. I'm still trying to figure out the layout of the album that I'm writing, because there's a lot that's going into it, and the main thing that I'm figuring out is single distribution. Like, should I release 1 single, 2 singles, 3 singles at a time, space them out, or do I release an EP first, like the first half of the album, and then the second half, like next year or something like that? I don't know. I also don't have a producer, an A&R, a writing team, or any of that. I'm doing this all by myself because it cost a pretty penny to get into the music industry, and I'm trying to figure out how to do this all by myself for right now. I think once I have a good amount of pocket change, I will seek out a producer and maybe find a studio and try to hone in on this craft that, God has given me. Because, again, I credit every single talent that I have to God. I'm a Christian. I'm proud of it. I'm not a perfect one, but, the Lord sanctifies me every single day, and so I'm grateful for that. But, yeah, until I can do that, I am going to just try to figure out how to put out at least 1 song for you guys, and I'm really excited for y'all to hear it. My closest friends have heard snippets of the songs that I'm working on. I can tell you for a fact there's about 6 or 7 songs that I'm dying to put out. More realistically, like 2 or 3 though. But there's about 7 solid songs that I think will be on the album. Yeah. I also have not figured out the album name. Have not figured out any of those details. But when I do, I will make a full episode dedicated to it. And you guys will be in the know. So stay tuned. I'm going to be updating the podcast Instagram more often. So be on the lookout for that. Details will, as always, be linked below. So go check it out. Yeah, we are 20 minutes in and still not talking about what we wanted to talk about. So today's episode was going to dive into the concept of setting boundaries. Now, this is a topic that I've kind of been tiptoeing around the tulips for quite a while, but I think in the recent events that I've had in my life, I think it's kind of important that I talk about it, and it's kind of relevant to what I've just been going through in my life. So that's what I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to try to tackle this as best as possible, because I feel, frankly, a little out of touch coming back to this podcast, but, bear with me, and we will make it through this together. But, yeah, due to recent events, I have learned a lot about boundaries, and I have learned that they are incredibly important in every single kind of relationship, in friendships, in familial relationships, family relationships, in business relationships, in work-related relationships, in love relationships. Every single relationship, I think, really, you can set boundaries in. As always, though, since this is based on true events of my life, and for legal purposes, I will not be saying who I'm talking about. But if they happen to stumble upon this podcast episode, hello. But, yeah, I'm just gonna, talk from the heart and talk about my experience in setting boundaries recently. So, I've had a tumultuous, I don't know if that's the word that I am going to use, but I'm going to use it. Tumultuous and frankly dysfunctional friendship with someone in my life that I have known for about 6 years. 5, 6 years, roughly. And at one point, I did have feelings for this person. And to not get too into it, because, again, I'm not trying to, pardon moi, I had a little burp there. I'm not trying to, bash this person or anything like that, or cancel them. But yeah, I had feelings for this person for a while. We were good friends, and they knew that I had feelings for them. They knew that I wanted more for the friendship, and they chose to kind of just take advantage of the fact that I had feelings for them, and they chose to lead me on. They chose to manipulate me and use my feelings to get what they wanted, and just, it very much made the foundation for that friendship relationship very rocky. We would often get into fights and disagreements, never physical. I am not condoning violence here, never physical, but it was quite often that we would get into a lot of verbal disagreements over our ideologies, over different things that would happen in our life, and that went on for quite a while. We would disagree, then we would make up again, and we would disagree, we would make up again, and it was back and forth. It was each person, it was both people at the same time, and it got to a point where it really, really, really messed me up mentally, and I finally just decided, after years of having people tell me you need to cut this person out of your life, I finally and wholeheartedly can say that I have cut this person permanently out of my life. I'm not trying to burn bridges with anybody here. I'm not trying to cancel anyone. I'm not trying to put anyone on blast. But this was for my own good, and I think for the good of that person as well, because it was just incredibly toxic what we had, the dysfunctional friendship, whatever you want to call it at this point that we had. And I finally just made a conscious decision about a month or two ago that I was going to not talk to them anymore, and I was going to block them. And I think when you've been in a toxic friendship, relationship with someone for a while, and you have expressed to them how you have felt about it, and they don't make any means to change or change their behavior that they are projecting in that friendship relationship, you have made it known that it bothers you and they don't respect that, and you have tried to set boundaries. I think it's okay to just go cold turkey and cut them out of your life all completely. I don't think you owe them an explanation. I don't think you owe them anything. I think it's okay when you've made it clear what you will and will not tolerate. And if they have not respected that, they have not respected those boundaries you have set forth, they are disrespecting you and your time. And there's no reason for you to be holding on to that person or that relationship. And there's no reason to beg them to come back into your life, because all they'll do is go back into the same pattern. I do believe that people change, and I'm a firm believer in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances, which I gave this person many chances. And I don't want to pin them as the bad guy here, because I as well had many faults that caused a downfall in this friendship. But I will say that this person was a master manipulator, and they really knew what to say and what to do in order to get me to come back into their life. And a lot of the time, people will not admit it, but they'll do that because they need the ego validation. They need their ego stroked. They need to know that someone still likes them, someone still likes having them around, and that they know that if they hit you up, they can have you wrapped around your little finger, and they can reach out to you. And I had made it clear based on my silence, and this person was consistently reaching out to me and trying to make amends. They would leave me voicemails, they would leave me text messages, and it got to a point where they were so jealous that I was hanging out with my other friends that it just got to a point where it was childish, it was destructive, it was not good for either person to be engaging in this friendship. And I tried to handle it as best as possible. I had friends of mine try to handle it too, and maybe that was not the most mature, civil way to do it, but that other person was extremely jealous of me hanging out with my other friends. In fact, they would often look at my Instagram story, and they would see it, and they would send me messages saying stuff like, "Oh, don't trust that person. How could you trust them? You don't even know them." And it's like, you don't even know me. Those are my friends. Those are the people I choose to surround myself with. And frankly, I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you to tell you who I'm hanging out with. We're not married. We're not in an exclusive romantic relationship. So frankly, I don't owe you anything. And vice versa if the tables were reversed. But needless to say, was I sad that this relationship, friendship, came to a close? Yes. Was it necessary for me to have set boundaries, blocked them, deleted their number, and moved on? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think sometimes that's just what you have to do. As painful as it is, you have to just set your boundaries and make it clear that you're not going to tolerate what was once tolerated. Because there's a lot of things when we care about a person, when that person has been there for us, and that person has, when we have given our time, our affection, our love to a certain person, and I'm not just talking in a romantic sense, but like as people, as friends, whatever the relationship may be, you know, you get to a point where you often get blindsided by how good things seem in the moment, that you often don't look at the bigger picture and see how toxic and how dysfunctional it actually was. And some people will take this trustworthiness, this close relationship, and they'll misinterpret it into something else that is completely different. They'll get jealous, they'll try to manipulate you, they'll try to isolate you from everybody else except themselves, and that's not right. This is very this is somewhat a narcissistic and manipulative behavior. And I don't think anyone should have to go through that. As much as you care about the person, as much as you value them, I don't think you should put up with that. And I think the question that I always, ask, and that has always been asked in my friend groups, and it varies from person to person, is can men and women be friends? And the answer that I always say is yes. And I believe, yes, it is possible, but you have to make your boundaries well known at the beginning of that friendship, relationships. Because, men and women are both very different, and we both analyze and interpret things very differently. But I think if you set the standard, if you set what is acceptable, what will go, what will not go in that relationship, friendship, I think it is possible to have a friendship with a member of the opposite sex. And I think that it's important, and I think it's kind of nice and kind of cool to have a relationship, a friendship with a member of the opposite sex, because it shows that we're able to be civil. It shows that we're able to manage our interpersonal relationships and not just the relationship we have with ourselves. And I mean, I've learned a lot of things from both just male relationships and just female, from just male friendships and also just female friendships. And right now, it seems that I am on the latter end of that I have more male friendships than female friendships. I don't know why it's like that. I haven't been really making, I guess, a conscious effort to seek out my girlfriends more. But shout out to them if they're listening to this. I miss y'all. We need to make some plans because I need my girls sometimes. As much as I love being a dude and a bros girl, which I heavily enjoy, I miss my girls. I miss the estrogen. But yeah, I do think it is possible, and I think it is healthy, and I think it shows. I think having a relationship, a friendship, I should say, with a member of the opposite sex, I think is important because we're able to respect each other more. And I don't mean that in the sense of equality, because I feel like there will really truly never be equality among men and women. We were divinely created by God to be different for different reasons, and I believe that absolutely. But I do think that, that answer is going to vary for men and women differently. I've asked some of my friends, and some of them agree that yes, you can have male and female friendships, and some of them have been reluctant and have said no, that it's better for a girl to have all girl friendships than for a guy to have all guy friendships. I think maybe the only exception, or where the lines of opposite sex friendships can get a little murky, is when one of you or both of you enters into a romantic relationship. Then I think that's where you definitely have to set your boundaries even more strict, and maybe not hang out as much, not communicate as much. I'm not saying, throw away your best guy friend. No, I'm not saying that, but I guess just set the standard and make it clear that, what are you going to accept? What are they going to accept? Because at the end of the day, as much as we don't want to admit it, every single relationship to a certain degree is transactional. And what do I mean by that? We are transacting trust, emotions, shared experiences, camaraderie, friendship, love. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. But we're all getting something from each other. And I don't mean that in a parasitic relationship kind of way. I just mean that we all lean on each other for something. Not to be confused with codependency, because that is a totally different thing on its own. But we are all trying to find our niche and find our safety net in people at times. And I think that, again, going back to toxic, dysfunctional friendships, I think that when you've made it clear what you want, what you will not tolerate, what you will tolerate, and they don't choose to respect that, and they don't choose to change that about themselves, then there's nothing else you can really do. You cannot change a person as much as you want them to. They have to always want to do the change for themselves. And I've said this before and I will say it again, but change happens from within, and change happens when that person chooses to wake up and make a conscious decision that there is something in their life that they are not doing right, and they need to do it right for them, not for anyone else. Once they do the inner work in themselves, and they see their faults and they see where they need to work on, then I think they can branch out and try to make amends with those that they've hurt in their friendships and their relationships and whatever. But I think, going back to it all, boundaries are incredibly important. Boundaries help keep us sane, and help us really to just set the standard for what we want and don't want. And hey, look, if it's going to be something as simple as blocking them, blocking their number, deleting their number, as painful as it is, and as much as you're going to long for the days when you want to reach out to this person, because believe me, I have had moments where I'll text my other friend and I'll be like, hey, I really want to call so-and-so right now. And they're like, why? You don't need them. They're not good for you. And I'm glad that I have friends like that keep me accountable and really take the blinders off for me and make me see the reality of the situation. And if you don't have someone to keep you accountable, I suggest you find someone to keep you accountable, because then you can relapse into old patterns, into old behaviors, and that's not good. And you really need to, have not just boundaries with people, but boundaries for yourself. What is acceptable to you? What are you willing to forego? What are you willing to accept? Yada, yada, yada. I could go on and on and on and on and on about this, but that is what basically it's come down to in my life right now. Do I sometimes miss this person? Yeah, of course I did. I did cherish the times that we did have together, the friendship I had with this person. And I hope and I pray that whatever it is they're doing, that they are happy, and I hope that they are succeeding in life. I always try to wish everyone the absolute best. I am parting peacefully from this. Has this given me inspiration to write songs? Absolutely. I will say that. I wasn't writing songs about this person to be petty. I was writing them to heal from the wounds that I got. And that's okay. We all cope with wounds differently. Me, I happen to be a musical person, so I write songs and I sing, and that is my outlet that I wish to channel my frustrations onto. But yeah, it is important. The takeaway of this podcast episode is really, really, really make sure that you sit down with yourself and you have a conversation about boundaries. And if you haven't established any boundaries with friends or families or whomever in your life, make a conscious effort to do it. It could be the best thing for you because, human relationships are often very gray, not black and white. I will agree there is a lot of things in our life that are black and white, that are yes or no kind of answers. But human relationships and human emotion and human behaviors and complexities and everything else it's not black and white. It's very much gray. There's a lot of murkiness in between. So yeah guys, set your boundaries, respect yourself, have that respect for yourself, value that time for yourself. And as much as you may miss and reminisce on the times that you had with this person, going forth into the next relationship, friendship that you may have in your life, you will now know what to accept and what you won't accept, and that is okay. So it's important, so do it. Anyways, guys, thank you all for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for having my crazy self back on your streaming podcast platforms. I will do my absolute best to keep up with topics. As always, you guys can send in topics to the podcast email that I will link below in the description. You can always call the podcast number as well. I've had a podcast number for this podcast forever, and no one has ever really called it. So if you so much care to let me know how you're doing, call the podcast number. It's 956-278-0720. 956-278-0720. One more time. 956-278-0720. Feel free to leave me a voicemail message, a comment, a concern. If you want advice, leave it in a voicemail. We'll make it anonymous if you wish. There's also a little voice link that you can click on and leave a voice message there that I can then attach to the podcast. And we can make it anonymous if you wish. But I hope y'all are having a wonderful, beautiful morning, day, or night, wherever you are. I hope everyone's having a great summer. I believe It is now the start of the summer solstice, I believe. Do not quote me on that. I'm gonna just look it up because when is it? Ah! You know what? I'm right. It's today, guys. So, happy official first day of the summer solstice. If you cared about that, it's officially the first day of summer. Hope y'all are enjoying it. If you live in Texas or Arizona or any place that's very, very, very hot, please remember to keep your pets inside. Or if they are outside, make sure they are in a shady area, hydrated, with some water, with some food. Bring them in if you need to. Make sure if you're running outside, you're outside in the area. Slap on some sunscreen, drink plenty of water, and stay safe out there, guys. I don't know what else to say, but I love you all. Hope y'all are doing great. I will try to keep up and be a good host this time. And with that being said, y'all, go forth, prosper, and God bless. Bye-bye.